It would give Putin Crimea. It would give Putin all of Ukraine's Donbass region, even though Russia does not control it. It would reduce Ukraine's military to 600,000 personnel, which is a cut of hundreds of thousands of troops.
Ukraine is required to cede territory that Russia could not take in 4 years of fighting.
Brian Fitzpatrick, Republican member of Congress from Pennsylvania, he said this Russian-drafted propaganda.
Okay, we have the pretty insane first steps of a deal proposed by Trump regarding the Russia-Ukraine conflict, further pushing our ally aside in favor of Putin. Surprise, surprise. So if you can, leave us a like on the video. We want to get to 30,000 subscribers, and let's hop into a CNN segment breaking down all of this.
Here are some of the concessions Ukraine must make. And as I said, these are things Putin's been asking for. All the way along, that would give Putin Crimea. It would give Putin all of Ukraine's Donbass region, even though Russia does not control it. It would reduce Ukraine's military to 600,000 personnel, which is a cut of hundreds of thousands of troops, which, of course, would completely make them unable to fight Russia again. And it would bar Ukraine from joining NATO, which, of course, has been Putin's goal also. These have been non-starters for Zelensky for years. And for Ukraine.
So clearly it's a complete Russia handout. If you told me the Kremlin themselves wrote this, I wouldn't be surprised. Russia has to concede nothing. That's the starting point, and they're gaining land they don't control and couldn't win in 4 years of fighting. This is despite them being slowed remarkably just by Ukrainian forces using our weapons and taking massive losses themselves, while again being the aggressor, starting the conflict in 2014 and defying international laws and humanitarian principles along the way. But rather than stand strong with our ally, of whom we do have an agreement of to do, we are going to give Russia land they don't control, reduce Ukraine's military to when Putin decides to inevitably do this again in 5 or 10 years. This time they can't fight back, and allow Russia, a force outside of NATO, of whom NATO was almost made entirely to combat them, to decide who can and can't join NATO. Why would we do that? This is just a great 4D chess move from the fascists.
One Ukrainian military commander said this to me. He said, Trump is stubbornly pushing Ukraine into capitulation and also humiliating Europeans. The whole idea looks naive and I spoke to a Ukrainian member of parliament, Helena Yanchenko, and I think quite deliberately she used some colorful language describing her reaction to this peace proposal as described. She said, it's like they are pissing on your boots and telling you it's raining. She went on to say to me that, listen, this would be forcing my country, Ukraine, to its knees. What was interesting to me in particular, though, Aaron, was that criticism extended across the Atlantic to here in Washington and among both Democrats and Republicans. You heard the Republican chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee say this was unacceptable. And Brian Fitzpatrick, Republican member of Congress from Pennsylvania, he said this Russian-drafted propaganda, that's how he's describing President Trump's peace proposal, must be rejected and disregarded for the unserious nonsense this is.
It's because most people can sense the clear influence the Kremlin has had on the Republican Party. Let's just be for real, their foreign policy, all of that. They can also see this as what it is. You're rewarding a murderous war criminal dictator for invading a sovereign country just because he's the bigger guy. It's everything we've claimed to stand against since Ronald Reagan. And, you know, he's also showing Putin, hey man, if you fight long enough, America will just give up and give in to what you want in the long run. There's no assurance Putin doesn't just rally the troops again in a few years. He almost definitely will, but Trump again just gets to kick the can down the road and pretend like he gets a victory because it didn't happen under him. All he cares about is the optics in situations like this, and I think more people need to catch on to that.
Ukraine is required to cede territory that Russia could not take in 4 years of fighting. Two, it basically reduces the Ukrainian military to the point where it would be, and the country would be, weak and vulnerable. And third, it requires no NATO enlargement. That applies to Ukraine, but even more broadly. So it essentially delivers Putin a clear strategic victory. It's unthinkable for Ukraine, and it is not in our national security interests. Appeasement never works to end war. It didn't work in 1938, and it's not going to work today.
Exactly. I mean, for us, it's a grave geopolitical failure on all fronts, but for Ukraine, it's the end of their country, their freedom, the sovereignty that they fought so hard to achieve. It's a smack in the face, really, as to say that their decades of work politically, the countless of lives lost militarily, is all for nothing because Trump, a man who couldn't even join the army to fight for his own country, had to make up a lie to duck it. He wants you to give your country to the bad guys, so sorry, you can't have sovereignty anymore, right? Just because the bad guys helped elect him in 2016 or whatever. It's kind of insane to me. It doesn't make sense for anyone, not Russia, or aligned with Russia. And we're not aligned with Russia. Most of the world isn't. It gives them a massive win. And again, at the best, we're kicking the can down the road while leaving Ukraine less able to do something the next time this inevitably happens. Who is our ally, by the way?